Hey there, this is Renee Sullivan here. I'm with David Pinto, and we're going to do an informal interview. We've known each other for, we're going on almost 3 years. We're in the same internet marketing space. And, we both have been following each other for about that long. And, I'm very inspired by David as an entrepreneur, and what I wanted to do is do some questions to ask him about his entrepreneurial journey, so that you can get to know more about him, and I'm sure that what he has to say is going to inspire others as well. So that's really why I'm doing what I'm doing, is really to encourage and inspire others to, if you have a dream of entrepreneurism, to really go for it. So without further ado, David, I'm going to start with the first question, which is, what ignited the spark in you to start your business? Or what significant changes have you made in your business, and or in your life, that made you want to begin a business?
Okay, well, it goes way back in 2011, honestly, that I actually spent a year in Italy just as a volunteer. In Italy, I was helping out with a few things. I was working as well, and I met my then girlfriend in Italy at that point of time, and I moved back to India because I'm originally from Mumbai, from India. And the first instance, or what ignited this whole journey that I'm on till today, is the necessity or the need for me to go to the Czech Republic, which was where she is from, to just visit. That was the initial, let's say, spark that started everything. And I started to think about it, and finally, after a lot of, I was doing a lot of small, let's say, offline businesses in India itself, personally, and I said to myself, okay, if I can do it offline, I can definitely do it online. So let's look what to do online. And I actually got stuck in a lot of things that maybe it's the normal journey that everyone goes when they start to look online, to find the right opportunity, to find the right mentor, the right mindset, the right path to where you want to be. And I got pretty lost along the way. I was learning a lot, but at the same time, I didn't reach this goal. Obviously, my relationship went on. She's now my wife, and we are in the Czech Republic. So ultimately, I reached my goal of getting here. It just took a longer time, let's say, than anticipated. That was the whole, beginning. But since then, there's been so much that's happened. So I'm excited if we go on for further questions. But
absolutely, and I always love hearing what really gets people, gets that spark going. And I love that it's the fact that it was someone in your life, a significant other. That's a great story, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, because you never know,
Yeah.
And I'm so happy, I've watched a bit of that journey with you before you've been married, so I'm like, oh, how awesome. And I remember seeing when you said you were getting married, and I'm like, oh, it's getting close. I remember having a few little conversations about that. So how exciting. That's awesome. Okay, so as far as when you actually got to do your business, where did you come up with the money?
Oof. Well, in the beginning, it was quite hard because I was at that point of time a student. So it was very limited. I worked some other jobs. I did some of the things that I needed to initially have the funds. But I don't know whether maybe some people who are watching this are still in the mindset where they feel like $25 per month is a lot. Because that's how I felt in the beginning. Obviously, I was from India. The currency is different. The change of value, all the conversions, it exists. Those are problems that everyone has. But at the same time, it felt like, how can I need the assurance? I need to be 100% sure that I can make it in order for me to pay a monthly subscription. So that's where I was at, but I had to take it out of my pocket. So I literally went into a budget stage and said, okay, I have enough for like 4 months, 5 months. And then let's get working on it, And I don't think that's the right attitude to have, but that's where I was at that stage. So that's where the money initially came from. Right now, it's completely different. There is a principle that I follow, which is basically a 1/3 principle, so that it keeps your business always running. You have funds to advertise, you have funds to keep everything running no matter what, and the rest can, work itself. So I think that led me to having this. But initially, I didn't have any investor. I spent money from my own pocket. It was a bit difficult at that time. The moment I moved to the Czech Republic and actually got a job, it was much easier. And I said, okay, that's my salary. This is what I'm going to do. And I speak about Czech Republic because I could have a number of jobs in India, but there are many limitations here and there. The moment you move out, especially in Europe, the doors open for you. So when you have a job that I have, for example, right now, it just helps me manage everything and even fund my business in the right way. So yeah, that's how I got
It's
started.
very similar. Most people starting a business, especially in the online marketing space, come out of pocket.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't cost nearly as much as if you were to start a franchise, which is
Exactly.
thousands of dollars. You would have to get an investor. I actually interviewed someone who I was expecting her answer to be that she had to borrow from a bank or whatever. She didn't. She actually did it and I was like, that's amazing. She actually started a gym, and that's not cheap to do that. So it's very inspiring to hear different people's place. But again, in the online marketing space, most people do start out of pocket, and you do whatever you have to do. Some people it's their job that gets them. Some people it's for me it was I had to babysit for a couple weeks to get started in my business. You do what you got to do, make it happen. So very good. Okay, so the next one is, all right, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but as far as being an entrepreneur, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to someone who wants to become an entrepreneur?
Well, honestly, I would say trust yourself, firstly, because most of the time, and there's a big reason to it, a lot of people, including myself, let's say, we went through a struggle or various struggles in entrepreneurship, whether it's a brick and mortar business that you have, or whether it's your own business that you're doing, or even an online business, whatever it is, there are going to be struggles. You have to treat it like a business, right? So I would say literally trust yourself, because if you have a passion, if you have the idea, and you know where you're going, you usually will see the problem in front of you, but you will also have the answer. And most of the time, we're staring at the problem instead of looking at the answer, which is right there. It's right there, but we want to look at the problem because it's taking up more of our time. So that's why we look at it more. So I would say trust yourself first. That's something that definitely I believe in a lot, because even though it takes a little bit more time, when you have the right guidance and you trust yourself, which leads me to the next one, find a mentor, find somebody who is in your place, okay? Because that allows you to see step by step where you need to be, and then you can trust yourself further to develop to that point. So these 2 are fundamentally, for me, the key elements. And I don't know, I think the third element would be more consistency, honestly.
I knew you were going to say that.
It has to. If I don't say it.
And again, I followed the same types. I would say almost the same thing. It's like you got to believe in yourself. You've got to have a good mentor, and you just got to be consistent. It is so true with every successful person. That it seems to be a theme as far as that. And it actually leads me into the next question, which is if you've had any failures, which most of us have had, what have you learned from that?
The funny thing is, it is the same answer that I said before. It leads me to think of actually being more consistent. Most of the times you find yourself in, well, this isn't anything that we do. It doesn't really have to do with business. But if you start learning a musical instrument, I use this example often because I'm a musician also. And it takes time for me to actually learn a certain, I'm self-taught on the drums, for example, right? But I know I have to go and consistently practice for me to maintain the skill set of playing in a certain rhythm and certain way. But if I don't, then I'm going to lose out on something. So definitely for me, it's consistency. That is hands down something that pushes not only ourselves, but it just makes us more successful. And you will find, as you said, it's a common thread with most of the people in success. They're different ideas. You can have so many ideas that I mean, if you think about the different websites, even Facebook, even Twitter, all of these websites, they have specific ideas. But if they were not consistent enough to keep developing them, they don't go anywhere. So it's really important to be consistent, I think.
And I agree. And in any lesson that we learn from, mistakes that we've made, it's the consistency that actually gets us through, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's where, unfortunately, the people who don't have good guidance fail. It's because they don't realize that their mistakes are what helps them learn and grow. And it's just a matter of just being consistent. It's not necessarily, well, yeah, you might have made a few mistakes, but again, it's just part of that process. Even though you have a mentor, you are going to make your own mistakes because you're your own unique person.
Definitely. Russell Brunson, for example, okay, the first time he wrote his book, .com Secrets, or even talking about ClickFunnels, he has multiple businesses, but this was his main key element. And now he is somebody who any expert would go to, okay?
Yeah.
The first thing he says is always find your ideal customer, right? And for me, it's strange because most of the failures that we go across in sales and in business in general is that we don't know who we are targeting it to. And once you define that, you're going to have people who will tell you, hey, this is not the right thing. This is not the right thing. I was talking to Renee the other day about my funnel and working with like a traffic vendor where, there was an issue. And that is okay. It's completely okay. So you learn from the mistakes, but it's only with knowing that that exact target, what you want to reach or who you want to speak to, or let's say what kind of a person, and knowing the details, what kind of food they eat, maybe also. I don't know. It doesn't really, you can use, Facebook ads, for example, these things help. So you need to define it very clearly, but then you need to be consistent. If you're not consistent with it, you won't pick out the exact things that are not working for you. So I would say the failures that you do have, consistency overlaps it and actually helps you grow in this way.
I agree. I totally agree. We kind of touched on this a little bit in the very beginning when you were talking about why you got started, but how has being an entrepreneur affected your life and your family? Like, have you had to make sacrifices to be successful?
Definitely. I think sacrifices is something that goes along with any skill set that you want to learn. You have to sacrifice somewhere. The difference is that society in general, we tend to, let's say, accept different skill sets along the way. So if you want to be a, I don't know, football coach, or if you want to be a footballer or anything, there's a football player, it doesn't really matter what. There are certain sacrifices that society accepts that you have to take. In business, most of the times it's perceived as you don't need it. You're affecting your family. You're doing something against it. But all these other things that we have in our lives is still, we're making those sacrifices. So definitely there are sacrifices that I took in the beginning, especially with the idea of coming to the Czech Republic.
Yep.
And it was a step up every time. Even in India, when I was there, I was doing what I could. Then I did a little more, and then I moved to Italy before I moved to the Czech Republic. So it was a step ahead. And then finally I moved here, and things started to roll much more. But if you look at it, I have sacrificed quite a bit to reach here, but it's a joy, honestly. It's not a suffering. It's not something that pushes you back. It is literally when I look at all the skill sets that I've learned, all the things that I have gained during this time, even though for 4 years I didn't succeed, and then the last 3 years that I've been doing this it has been picking up quite a bit, is only because I let myself go through those struggles. I let myself understand them, and what it helped is my partner, my wife, for example. Right now, she gets it, she understands it. So what I'm doing, she knows, is for our future. She
Yep.
knows it's for our family. She knows I don't mind. I have no issues with the 9 to 5, but it doesn't mean I want to do that. So
Yep.
if it's not like you're unsettled by having a 9 to 5, no. But there's definitely an idea of having freedom of time, freedom to spend more time with the kids, the family, just things in the future. So we understand each other, and because of the sacrifices that she's seen me go through, maybe I think she understands the best in this way. I don't even think my own parents and sisters, like in India, would get it as much as she does, because she's seen me go through different steps along the way.
Yep.
So yeah.
And you have an advantage because you do have a partner, or now wife, who has supported you throughout the whole thing. And I don't know how it's been like with your other family members, but a lot of people don't have that support. So it's like an extra added on challenge of that, quote, sacrifice, which, becomes that joy. I mean, has other members of your family been supportive throughout this?
They don't know exactly. So I've done a lot of entrepreneurial, let's say, experiences in my life, and my dad, and I come from a family that is very, basically my grandparents, for example, they had their own family business in the engineering sector, in the industry sector, basically. And so did my dad, and until he sold it to the current business that they have at the moment. So there's a lot of entrepreneurship going around in the family. So if I do tell them, they're very curious to know more. So I was afraid of the curiosity, and I just said, okay, let's not tell them exactly what I'm doing, but let's just say that I'm working on things behind the scenes. And they're fine with it. They didn't go ahead and ask me any more questions, because in India I was working some other things. I started my own chocolate business in India. So that's something that I was doing before I got online. And it was really successful, and now they're starting it again. So I left the whole business behind with a friend of mine, and they're starting it up this year again. So it's nice to see the evolution of these things, that these seeds that you put across. Mm-hmm. So my family doesn't have any issues with it, but they haven't, let's say, got the full picture. So yeah.
Yeah. and many times it's best not to tell them all the details, because that just adds more issues. But it's nice to know that you have that. And I had no idea that you had a chocolate business. That's, again, the more we do these things, the more we find out about each other. One more question before we close. As far as you yourself and your business and what you have, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 10 years as far as business is concerned?
Well, my hope and dream, let's say, is to just do this full time in a way that is, I don't mean to have a 7-figure salary or 6-figure salary or whatever it is. It's not about the rich and stuff like that. It's more, for example, as I said right in the beginning, for me, it's time freedom. So knowing your numbers, knowing how much you need per month, and also to think about things ahead. So, well, what do I see myself in the next 3 or 5 years? I've been thinking about this a lot these days. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I just hope that I have come to a point where I don't need 1 or 2 income streams. I have one specific business that I have multiple income streams in, rather than having my job as one income stream, my online business as another income stream, and et cetera, other things. But focus on one with multiple streams. So that's my aim, and I want to do this full time. Honestly, this is the goal. This is the dream. Obviously, it will happen maybe sooner than expected. I can't say, but I have to be consistent about it. And the more consistently I I have, the better it is. So I'm excited because this month is the first, actually tomorrow is the first traffic run. So it starts already eyeballs new advertising on a funnel that I've built. And I honestly am uh, hoping that, and I'm focusing on reaching or building that up to at least a $3,000 to $5,000 funnel. And that's just something that I have in mind, that every new income stream that I build has to have a target. So I can reach there and then move on to the next if I have to. But it is good to have, I actually got this concept, I don't know whether you know about the Two Comma Club with Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels as well. He has this, and I just like the idea. So I took the idea for myself and I'm doing my own thing. But the concept was nice, that they have $1 million funnels. So, and it could be a gym, like you said, a gym that has a business and they have a funnel and they have products there and it's going on to, that much. So that is the aim, to have maybe not that big of a funnel, because I don't want to have, honestly, I don't want to have another office after I leave.
Right.
So it is more to see how I build on my laptop and have the laptop lifestyle. So that's the aim.
Awesome. Well, I have absolutely enjoyed watching you progress as a marketer. I've actually enjoyed our conversation. And like I said, the more we do these types of things, the more it inspires others to pursue their dreams, because really it's all about, everybody has something that they want to achieve in life. And it's many times that, if you're around the wrong people, you don't ever pursue those. But if you get around the right people, you do, and you can, and you should. And that's really, my whole message in doing these. So any final thoughts, David, before we conclude?
I think, Renee, you have been a big inspiration for me as well. But more than an inspiration, I think it's just good to have feedback. It's good to have somebody who understands or is on the same mindset as you.
Yeah.
So everyone's going to have doubts. You spoke about sacrifices earlier. We're all going to have doubts along the way as well. And having somebody to back you up and to just put your mind into a reflection on what you're doing is a good thing. So you've done that for me, and it's not like we are in business together or something like that. So it is always a friendship and a community that we've built up over the last few years that is inspiring, honestly, for a lot of new entrepreneurs also, especially people who are just getting out of either don't know which direction they have after they finish their studies, or they're just stuck. They feel stuck. So this is something that I honestly think is quite useful for you and for anyone, actually, to have a support system, but also the right time to reflect, the right time to know your direction, to set aside some action steps. So if you're one of those people, I think you should really go ahead and think of Renee also as one of your mentors, even if you're not directly, I wake up in the morning sometimes and I see that there's a video of Renee on YouTube and I just watch it. So
same here. I do the same. You inspire me as well. So it's just one of those things. And again, like you said, we're not even in the same exact businesses, although some of them are similar, but it's just that community and that support. And I encourage others to do the same. So. All right. Well, thank you so much, David. I will, be sending you a copy of this, and absolutely use this if you feel it's going to benefit others. And we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, for sure.